Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Bebop here, and today we're going to be talking about the future of Sparking Zero. Now, before we dive into the video, I do want to give you guys a special thank you. I got my channel remonetized, so thanks to you for all the support and all the love and all the videos and liking the videos and commenting, all that good stuff, subscribing. All that helps, so thank you so much. So, last night I asked everybody on Twitter that I was seeing some heavy reviews about Sparking Zeros, and I just wanted to know what everyone's general thoughts about the game were. I essentially just wanted people to comment some valid criticism that they had for the game. I didn't want just some generic, this game is bad. Just wanted to see what everybody was talking about because this game has been out for 2 weeks now and the hype kind of plummeted from what I was seeing on Twitter. Now, before I dive into the video, I do want to say this is in no way, shape, or form trying to directly insult the game. This isn't going to be a very negative video where I highlight every negative aspect about this game. Games deserve valid criticism, whether that means it's positive or negative. It's okay to like something and still critique something. The reason for criticism is for things to improve. Now, me personally, I love this game and I want it to improve. Before I give my personal thoughts about it and what I would like to see change, I wanted to see what the community says first. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to see what the comments were saying on Twitter. Shout out to all of you that commented on Twitter. And hey, even if you're not in the video, by all means, please feel free to comment below and just give me your thoughts and your opinions and your feedback on what you would like to see, what you don't like, in a very honest, critical way. With that being said, let's get right into it. All right, so this is the Twitter post I made last night, so we're just gonna dive right into it, okay? So let's see what people were saying. All right, so the homie Yora, shout out to him, great artist. This is what Tenkaichi 4 would have been if the PS2 gen kept going. A PS2 game for better and for worse, so 10 out of 10. All right, that's pretty valid. I had to like, All right, let's see. RVS says, seems like the refined beta version was released for us instead of a fully hashed out video game. There are some bugs and inconveniences throughout gameplay which hurt the overall experience. I wanted him to expand on this. Now, before I check out what he means by that, I do want to agree to disagree to this extent. Now, I can agree that there are definitely bugs and inconveniences. I think everybody and their mothers are talking about that. However, I don't agree that this feels like a refined beta version. I definitely disagree with that. It seems a little disingenuous to say. So what he said is, I will admit not every game is fully hashed out on release and never probably will be, but due to occasional input delays, the standard versus classic controls experience, gladly they will fix this, and the lack of punishment for rage quitting, in my opinion, the experience suffers. I do definitely agree with that. For those that don't know about the standard versus classic controls, basically classic control players were experiencing a lot of input delay, as well as standard players not being able to switch out of their characters, which obviously dampens people's playing experience in ranked or even just playing with the homies. Glad that they acknowledge this and they will fix this, however, but it was dampening people's moods overall for 2 weeks, and that's a lot of time. Then he goes on to say that the lack of customization options and lack thereof stages is why he feels that it is a refined beta. Now, I still think that refined beta feels a little disingenuous to say. It's probably too much of a strong word. In my opinion, I want to say that it just feels a little unpolished. Maybe it needed more time to be cooked in the oven, but I just definitely disagree with it being called a beta, though I understand what he means. All right, let's go. Continuing on, Chaos Kid. My criticism is that Denji isn't in it. Boy, if you don't get your... All right. Next up, Perfect Legend, the GOAT. It's the GOAT. I knew he was gonna say this is a three-time evil champion. I ain't even mad at it. I am not mad at it. That boy loves this game. All right. EJ Styles, I kind of hate that there's a $35 season pass for them adding in characters that should have been day one. I could understand doing the Daima stuff later, and maybe this is just a critique of the gaming industry as a whole, but damn, why do we have to pay extra for stuff that's already there? Interesting. So I did ask him, you know, I told him, look, I bought the Ultimate, so I don't know what those characters are, so feel free to comment below and let me know. Then he said, I guess you don't have to buy them, but if the data miners are to believe Super 17 and PyCon will be added, Beast Gohan, etc., I'd imagine there'll be a pass. So characters like that, I'm assuming that's what he means. Team Goten and Trunks from Superhero will also be in the pack. I think if I recall too, I remember the Daima and maybe Grandpa Gohan. Correct me if I'm wrong. Those are people that will eventually be in the season pass. So I guess if you don't have the season pass, you won't be able to attain them for free, which I can definitely understand from his viewpoint. $35 is definitely steep. I am not one to pocket watch anybody. $35 is a good chunk of change for anybody. Then I see that they were talking about the Ultimate Edition not even having the two $15 Anime music packs. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that's kind of crazy for those that bought the deluxe or even the ultimate edition, didn't even get the luxury to have the music packs. Music packs is exactly what it sounds like. You got the anime music packs that cost $15, and there are 2 packs, so that's an additional $30. So essentially you're paying kind of $65 extra for something that should already be in the game. Now, the season pass, understandable. I get it. You want to charge me for season pass? All right, make your bread. I get it. But the music packs, I feel like that should have been already given. That's just my opinion. Especially, don't even get me started on the people that bought the collector's edition of this game. That's already a good 250 and change. I'm good off that. All right, moving on. Then we got I cannot think of a name. He said he loves the game and wants a few changes. I told him to expand on that. He said he wants super counter to cost something, and he feels that Vanish War should get faster the more you do it. I'm glad we got to this topic. So super counters, like I said in my PvP guide, which if you haven't checked out already, I recommend you should. They don't cost anything. It's free. And a lot of players are starting to feel like that people are abusing it. Now, I don't agree with that part. However, I do agree that since everything in the game pretty much costs something, whether that means your key, your gauge, super counter being free is kind of insane. But in turn, somebody might argue, well, because it's something that's very hard to pull off, naturally it should feel free. I personally don't know how I feel about that aspect, but let me know in the comments if you feel differently. However, the Vanish Wars, I can definitely agree with this part in particular. Vanish Wars should get faster the more you do it, or at least cost more key. Because let me tell you something, whenever you're in a high ranked game, or even watching other players do it, it gets boring after a while. Nobody's trying to sit there for like an extra 5 minutes. I could go grab a snack, take a nap, and you're still vanishing. That's kind of crazy. Now, what would make it more exciting is for it to be faster. That to me would be way easier, way more exciting. I could be at the edge of my seat wondering who's gonna win this war when it gets faster and faster, because hey, there's definitely gonna be skill involved with that. But as it stands now, it feels like a toddler can vanish it pretty easily. It's same rhythm, same tempo, pretty easy. But again, this game is not meant to be taken super seriously. I do want to disclose that, but again, I'm going to talk about all my personal opinions later in the video. Now, next up, we got Don Direct. Now, this one got a little traction to it. This one was definitely interesting. Now, he says, as a Dragon Ball game, it's a 10 out of 10. As a fighting game that people want to play at Evo, it's a 4 out of 10. Too many ways to cheese a win. Very boring vanish offs at high level. After image characters, inconsistent timings on crucial defensive options. I can keep going too. So I told him, hey man, I ain't judging, go off. So I guess he really didn't elaborate more, but okay, let's get something straight. Now let's get something straight. People need to please stop saying Evo and Sparking Zero in the same topic of conversation. It's never going to happen. At least as it stands now, this game is not meant to be played at that type of level. This game is not meant to be played at that type of event. People need to understand that this game as it stands now is not ready for Evo, and I don't think it'll ever be, and that's okay. We don't need every fighting game to be Evo standard. That isn't what defines a good game. Sometimes people just want to kick back and relax and just play a normal fighting game, even if there are a lot of issues with it. And those issues will be talked about and shed some light to, and hopefully in the future it gets some type of work, but things take time and grace. In the initial stages of the game, I could see why people were saying this game will be really fun at Evo. But the more you kept playing it, the better you got at it. Watching other high-ranked players playing against other high-ranked players, you knew for a fact, okay, this game has a lot of cheese to it. It's very exploitative. This game does not feel like it's Evo material. And again, like I said, that is okay. I just think people need to stop putting Evo in the topic of discussion to define how good a game is. That's it. All right, next up we got Biggie Carl. He said there's only mixed reviews on Twitter, I think. Then he says some complaints are legit. I personally think the issues are the bugs that need to be fixed. Getting more time to select characters online, yes, and maybe just better customization. The game is insanely good other than a couple small things. Yes, I'm glad somebody brought this up, because that was, if anything, my #1 issue when I first played this game. I had the early access, and boy, oh boy, whenever I wanted to play with my homies, I'm just like, wait, I don't know who to pick. I don't know who to pick. I don't have enough time. So I would go into the game with like 2 characters if it was a 3v3. I think the time is like 45 seconds or something like that. Me personally, it should be a little longer than 45 seconds, or however long it is. Should definitely be extended. As for better customization, I definitely agree with that too. And everybody, can agree about the bugs. Yes, we all definitely agree with that. All right, next up we got Justice. Good casual game, but I know if you start taking this seriously, you're gonna hate it. I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree, and I even said, look, even for a casual, it can still feel a little lackluster. So I'm just trying to identify what those things are from a good chunk of people. That's all. Then we got Estheria. My criticism that I don't own it yet. That's some real shit. I get it. Nasdarachi. Game is solid at its core, it just did not get extensive balance or playtesting. The vibe of the characters being unbalanced due to inherent power is fine, but the characters aren't the issue so much as exploitable mechanics, which is not fun, and the lock-on system is jank. The bugs with not being able to swap out and controls glitching and disabling mid-match also need correction. Goofy fun is fine, but Hercule should not be able to jail you with a present bomb until you die. That is not Dragon Ball vibe. Now, I definitely agree about the balance issue. Now, look, I'm going to say this honestly and earnestly. There will be no balance in terms of the game. Characters will not be balanced. Hercule should not be able to damage Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, right? This is what I mean by characters having that type of balance system. Which is kind of ironic to say because Yajirobe is getting tweaked, which is insane to me. Yajirobe of all people, but everybody knows how much of a menace he was back in the days. And I definitely agree about the lock-on system, which is one of my many gripes as well. The lock-on system is definitely jank and it definitely needs some rework. There should be no reason when I'm playing the game and my opponent is 1 foot away from me and my character decides to be Daredevil. What do you mean you can't see? He's right there, bro. Then him talking about the bugs and not being able to swap out. Definitely agree with that because I think if I recall, the main issue for that was because if you are playing on standard and your opponent just happens to be on classic, vice versa, that is the reason for that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is definitely an issue. Because that just means you just hope whoever you run into is playing on standard the same way as you, or playing in the same control scheme as you, which should not be the case at all. Also, the Hercule not being able to jail you with a present bomb until you die, I definitely saw that video, and you're gonna watch it right now. Okay, so this is what he means about the Hercule just jailing you. I found this hilarious, I'm not gonna lie, but hey, shout out to this guy, Don Shinobi. Man's definitely got jailed. I think this would have been me crashing out. Can you imagine being stuck like this? Look at this, bro. Can you imagine being spammed like this until you die? Bro even tried to rage quit. Look at this. And I think that player was A4 rank. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Justifiable crash out in my opinion. Yeah, bro. I'm not gonna lie. You kind of got cooked. And then bro. And then bro rage quit. Yeah, I agree, bro. Same here. Same here. Alright, next up, we got the homie Bugs. I'm content with the game development. While I do agree minor adjustments should be made, the game was developed as the devs intended. I do play ranked, however, I don't take it serious. Maybe that's why I'm having fun. LOL, key sickness should return though. Interesting. I think key sickness was if you were charging slow. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know how that prompts. So can somebody please elaborate on that and explain it to me if you can? And let me know if key sickness should return or why that's an issue. Let me know because I'm very unfamiliar with that term. I've heard it before, but I actually don't know what it is. Next up, we got the homie Billy. All right, the issue is C is more so the community expecting it to be competitive fighting game when it never was intended to be so. Definitely agree. The game is far more enjoyable from a party game perspective, something to play with the homies and set up tourneys for. Anyone that grew up with the older games knew this, and if they didn't, they def got caught up in the hype. The direction the devs take the game moving forward would dictate a lot. The game will just see more longevity if they provide balanced updates to it for big tourney events. However, that will push the game in a direction that's not really true to its nature, a game to recreate Dragon Ball, which means some characters will be unfair. I like that you emphasize that will be part. 9 out of 10 from a non-competitive standpoint, 2 out of 10 for competitive side. And this is from someone who doesn't follow the fighting game scene, but damn well knows how a competitive game should be played, just due to my time in FPS. I definitely agree with this a lot. Like I said before, this is definitely a party game. It's not meant to be taken super seriously. From a competitive standpoint, yeah, naturally you're like, okay, this is not following the laws of what a competitive fighting game should be. But what really defines a competitive fighting game? That's up to interpretation. But again, it's okay if it's not supposed to be competitive, because I don't think it is. I think they just want to follow the Tenkaichi route and keep it faithful to that. And not once was Tenkaichi ever competitive. The word competitive has many variations and many definitions to it. But I think when people say competitive, they think, oh, Evo, tournaments, big tournament events. Like I keep saying, this game is definitely not meant to be played at Evo. All right, next up, we got Aizen DB. I think the game was overall very great for both aspects of play, but it definitely needs some changes. A lot of the mechanics have been tweaked from their older versions in other games, and I think that should just be reverted since those mechanics were already pretty much perfect in their previous iterations. Also, the game does feel a bit rushed in my opinion, like the devs wanted to do more, but just did not have the time, such as things like Vegeta's episode story ending in MBS rather than in TOP, or other villains like Cell not getting one at all. I am very excited for the potential of the game and to see where it improves over the coming months, but for a release standpoint, in my opinion, the game is in a horrible place for both casual and competitive play. No one, literally no one, enjoys this sparking merchant and AI's gameplay. Now this one for sure is definitely an interesting take. I don't know how I personally feel about the it feels like the devs were rushing. I don't think that's true at all, but again, I understand that it may feel that way to a lot of people because of how the game concluded. But I definitely agree with other things, but I feel like those other things could come in passing time. Again, I do want to reiterate, this game is only 2 weeks old by the time you're watching this video. It's only 2 weeks old. There's still a lot more that they could do, and I still think that they're going to implement a lot of things like a Cell story mode of the sort, like a what if type of scenario, and that would be really cool. And as far as the AI gameplay and stuff, that was definitely a major complaint when the game first came out. You know, AI being way too busted, but I think eventually over time people started to adjust to them. But again, the AI thing is like whatever, because it's not really a serious complaint in my opinion. I feel like you just have to get used to it, and if anything, the AI is supposed to teach you how to kind of play. And me personally, I don't mind the AI beating my ass, because again, I feel like that is what it's intended to do. It should feel a little challenging in some ways. All right, next up we got Spooky Wokey. It's about what I was expecting, a really fun game with janky stuff in it. I think people's expectations were set maybe a bit too high, but there wasn't anything to do about that, because if you gave a single criticism, everyone jumped you. They had to experience it firsthand. I definitely agree. People need to stop jumping people for criticism. Criticism is fine. Now, again, if you're just rage baiting and trying to say comments just to say comments just for the sake of trying to get people upset, then yeah, I understand that part where, all right, maybe you should stop talking. But if people are genuinely giving good feedback, even if it seems negative, that's in their right to do. Because of the majority of times, people giving criticism are just people that want to see the game improve in a healthy manner. As far as the expectations being a bit too high, I think you can't blame a lot of people for that, because a lot of veterans, especially myself, were expecting this game after 17 years, and definitely the hype definitely did get to us. And that isn't a bad thing in itself either way. Mystic says, perfect gameplay and roster 10 out of 10. The customization is what they really failed on, and not just for outfits and accessories, but custom battle dialogue is impossible to use. Tournaments being capped at 8 players is insane, and just other little things that are holding it back. I definitely agree with this. Customization should definitely feel more fluid. It should feel more free. I do personally want to see being able to change certain move sets with certain characters. I definitely want to see more outfits, but I know that given time, it'll happen. The custom battle one is definitely a good one though. A lot of people are not really talking about it as often as I see, but the custom battle is way too janky, way too all over the place. There's a lot of battle dialogue that just doesn't make sense at all, or it's just too hard to filter out. Definitely some major improvement, but I do like the idea of it. I just think that it needs to be a bit more polished and a bit more organized. Tournaments being capped at 8 players is insane. It's 2024, man. We could definitely cut out the 8-player max and start bringing in at least 16 in the lobby. I think the devs need to understand that when it comes to tournaments and big events and upholding these type of events, will require more players. And I know that may sound like a lot to do, expanding the player slots in tournaments and or just lobbies in general, but I think a good start will be at least 16. All right, next we got DJ. I really enjoy the game, but notice when I'm talking about it, there are plenty of nitpicks to get a little annoyed about. Few costumes, no alt colors. Oh, alt colors is a good one. Overall buggy jank. First fight against Raditz, I got stuck under the map. I definitely seen that a lot with a lot of gameplay, not just in story mode, but in ranked as well. Accessory system sucks. Having Blizzard but no ice map. So I know the map issue is going to be talked about a lot. That is a definite valid concern, but again, game has only been out 2 weeks. I know for a fact that they will definitely bring in those old maps, because yes, I do want to see those old maps. Yes, I do want to see Kami's lookout. Yes, I do want to see space outside of King Vegeta's planet and Frieza's spaceship. Yes, I want to see all that. I want to see the highway with that one truck on it. All right, next up we got CJ. Definitely some glaring issues and glitches that kind of suck. Giant fights are very annoying. The controls can be a bit hard to remember at times, but it's also some of the most fun I've had playing a game this year. Definitely will benefit from patches. I definitely agree there. Giant fights, luckily for me, I don't face them as often, except we all got folded with the grade 8 Vegeta one, and I know some people want to be different on Twitter, like, oh, you guys struggled. Like, all right, bro, like, let's relax, okay? Like, please. Then we got Peak, love that. All right, New Forest. The game needs a bit of tweaking. It's great, but it feels like they released this game a month or two early to be able to align with Daima's release, which worked because it sold 3 million in a day. It needs some tweaking, which they already announced that they would fix. I definitely didn't consider it like that. Maybe they did do it intentionally to align with Daima's release. Who knows? Maybe it was released for that specific reason. Oh boy, bro wrote a whole Bible. Okay, so oh my god. All right, let's see. We are cooking right now. All right. I like the gameplay from a casual standpoint because having a unique cast of characters will keep expanding with every DLC will be great. The story is good, but it could have been better with some stories being longer, Vegeta's for example, or some scenes needing to be fully animated, like Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time. Custom battles are great, but filtering needs to be better. One of the big issues is the community on this site taking this game too seriously. Now, before I continue reading, I definitely agree that about the story mode stuff. We already talked about the filtering that needs to be better with custom battles. As far as like the Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time, I genuinely think that a majority of players were already complaining about this type of situation. And what I mean by that is a lot of people, especially when Kakarot came out, a lot of people were upset that this was even implemented in the game because it felt like we're constantly seeing the Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time, Krillin being blown up. So now when that isn't highlighted, people are complaining. So it's like, it was one of those situations like you can't have them both. And don't lie, you definitely saw those type of comments on Twitter. At least I did. Moving on, he says, calling the game dead because of Steam viewership, even though this happens with every fighting game. Fighters, for example, went from a max of 40k players on release to below 6k in 2 months, and people don't call that game dead. I actually didn't know people were calling this game dead. That's definitely a lie. Not calling him a liar, saying that's definitely a lie for people to say this game is dead. That is far from the truth. I believe this game will face a similar trajectory, but much bigger in terms of viewership because, shocker, that's how fighting games work. It might honestly be a me thing, but I'm fine with waiting for fixes if they announce them, which they did, because I know it's going to be fixed. The people on the site are insufferable because they are negative for everything. Legends community rubbing off on this community. And it isn't just Legends. I can agree on that, though. It isn't just Legends players, Dokkan players too. Forgot to mention, but one criticism is that the stages being only 12 isn't good, but I'm hoping with DLC we'll get more. Definitely will. I definitely agree with that. Customization being so vast, I would want, for example, to give Goku all of his outfits. UI Goku with the Yard Rat and the Halo, for example. I hope that they bring more to customization. Which is so funny you say that because I definitely seen that mod. And a lot of people are starting to mod this game and customizing their own suits and stuff. And that's pretty cool on its own. In the end, I'd give this game a 7.5 out of 10. I really like it because it's a Dragon Ball game that I can have fun with friends, which is the purpose of this game. But I'm hoping for it to get better with this upcoming October update, which fixes many of the bugs. Many updates that will come with it, and of course DLC that comes with it as well. Well said, New Forest, and thank you for your input. All right, then we got Easy K. As someone who's too broke to buy, I wouldn't get it as a Dragon Ball game because Xenoverse 2 makes your OC and have them interact with the story feel so much fresher. And as a competitive game, it doesn't really draw me in mechanically. Fights look cool, but not too interesting outside of that. That's interesting. I'm glad somebody actually brought up Xenoverse 2 and kind of compared it in that aspect, not in that type of way, but in the aspect of, you know, how it feels different from that to this, I think that's a fair comparison. What I don't personally like is when people, for example, compare fighters to this game. Bro, y'all gotta stop doing that. Two inherently different games. But this one was interesting for him to bring up in that kind of sense in regards to the story mode. And that's his own opinion, and I don't blame him. All right, Cage Neon, what's good, my guy? I think the game is great. Definitely some flaws and bugs, like the classic controls issues. Sometimes I can't transform or switch out during DP battle. Some character stories are questionable. Why does Vegeta stop at Buu Saga? And after image is an abomination. 8 out of 5 out of 10 game. Now again, yes, the common consensus of the community is the whole can't switch out, can't transform. Definitely dampens the gameplay a lot. I've definitely lost my fair share of matches because I couldn't switch out. Really sucks. But I know in time that will get fixed, hopefully. And it seems like a lot of people are talking about the Vegeta story. Now, I haven't had the luxury to play it yet, but I definitely will. And that does kind of sound a little weird that it stops at just Buu Saga. And of course, the after image strike. Listen, I have my own complaints about it. I don't like it, but hey, I know there are definitely ways to counter it. All right, next we got Tricked MJ. If you came in expecting Sparking 4, it's good. The issues come from people who either realize older ones don't hold up as well as they remember, or people wanting to change the game's core to what it wasn't meant to be. And I think both sides are valid to a certain extent. The game is most definitely not supposed to be some Street Fighter or Tekken type of game, and it's fine in that sense. But I can see constant super counters, 20Z vanish fights, sparking abuse, and timeout methods being very annoying and ruining the flow in front of the game. Key blast loops into unblockables, Yajirobe and Android timeouts, giant dash attacks, and I can definitely see why it bothers people. It doesn't annoy me, but it's understandable. But there's no way to please legacy players and new players all together. This was really well said because you kind of get a perspective of both sides here. Now, I agree that some complaints are coming from people from the older generation, like the people who grew up in Tenkaichi. Then we got people complaining who are very brand new at this game. I get it. Some people weren't born around that time or just didn't know what Tenkaichi was, and that's fine. I personally also think both sides are valid to a certain extent. Now, the sparking abuse, I get it. It's frustrating, but hey, I get it. It's not meant to be balanced, and it's gonna feel a little unfair at times, and that's kind of a tough pill to swallow. Now, the exploitative stuff, like the key blast loops into unblockables, feels kind of wild to me. I definitely agree that, for example, Broly should not be able to just spam key blast in sparking mode for an hour straight. You could just take a nap holding the guard button, and then he just uses an unblockable ult, and then you just lose the game. Then as for the other things, the timeouts and stuff, I definitely experienced my fair share of that as well. People just cheesing in ranked, running giants, and then like Yajirobe just stalling out time, playing very passively. It definitely makes me not want to play ranked. I am not gonna hold you on that, because that's happened to me, I think, on 2 occasions, and that was enough for me to put the game down and just try to play with the homies or something. But it's definitely understandable for people to feel strongly about that. And like he said, there's no way to please legacy players and new players altogether. There should be some type of middle ground. Next up, Revenant Robert. As a newcomer into Tenkaichi, welcome in. I have to say it's peak. Only complaint I have is not gaining points when someone rage quits, and they should add a way to make Vanish Wars a little bit more engaging. Everything else is amazing, and cheese can be solved by just finding a solution. This is a good take, and I'm glad that there's a newcomer that's giving an opinion about this. It was already mentioned before, and I do definitely agree by the rage quits, which was something I should have talked about earlier. The rage quits is definitely an issue. We definitely see it in games all the time. Fighters, Dragon Ball Legends, Xenoverse, etc. Now, I don't know how Fighters and Xenoverse handles rage quitters, but I can only imagine there's definitely some penalization. But I can agree about the gaining point system. I can definitely talk about this and why this would be an issue. So, as some of you know or don't know, I definitely used to play Dragon Ball Legends. I was the #1 ranked player in that game, and gaining points when someone rage quits would definitely be an issue. When Dragon Ball Legends first came out, people were abusing this system because at the time when it came out, there was no real way to tell who was disconnecting intentionally or not. What ended up happening was both parties would gain RP, which was rating points, and that was definitely being abused. You could be losing a match and then suddenly you somehow disconnect the game. The person who actually disconnected would also gain points, which feels scummy, and it is scummy. Over time, as years went on, this became a prevalent issue, and what Legends decided to do eventually, over time, over the years, what Legends decided to ultimately do is, since there's no real way to tell who's disconnecting, they decided to either A, conclude the match in a draw, or B, they definitely made it harder to disconnect matches and give you the win. So instead what they would do is penalize the account that disconnected and give them a temporary ban from queuing into PvP, which resulted in really long times for like 15 minutes to 30 minutes to an hour of just not being able to find a match. I think Sparking Zero does have this feature. Shout out to the homie Indakuba, because he was also experiencing something like this along the lines of his game constantly crashing. What ended up happening was he got a message that said if this continued to persist, he would get an indefinite suspension, which sucks because again, he wasn't doing it on purpose. The game just kept crashing on him. But all in all, I do agree that there should be some kind of method to identify who's actually rage quitting and who's not. All right, next up, Eric Harrison. It's fun but not fleshed out. Story mode is great, but only 5-ish fights if you're not Goku. Menus need an overhaul, not the animations. Buttons are unresponsive. Fights can feel bland due to poor move balancing. Overall, it's enjoyable, but I never felt in control like fighters. So I've definitely seen this take a lot about menus needing an overhaul. Not the animations, but just the menu, I guess the UI. Buttons unresponsive, I understand that. That's already been talked about. Fights can feel bland due to poor move balancing. I'm not sure what that could kind of mean, but I think he kind of explains it a little bit more, hopefully. Let me see. If people care about the menus, restart scenarios instead of having to quit first. Okay. Preset team options. I definitely agree with that. Yes. Preset outfit option, 18 move change. Oh yes. Bulma chilling out a little. That's freaking hilarious. Collect all challenge rewards. May exist. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that does exist. If you talk to Zeno, you hit square, which is for PlayStation, and you're able to just collect all the awards. Button mapping outside of the main menu. Okay. The what if conditions are lame, and some like Piccolo 17 Cell 1 are basically impossible without cheesing it. Most of the reviews, both good and bad, know it would have been better with anyone but Bandai. They're never fixing it. A solid 7 out of 10 game, fun for Dragon Ball fans only. Okay, good take. I do like that he talked about the menus and the preset team options, which is something I actually wanted to talk about myself, but he beat me to the punch. I definitely agree that there should be an option to preset teams. There should definitely be like a favorites type of team scenario where you're just able to select what teams you would want in the future, which also cuts down on the timer that there's already been implemented in the game, where people are not able to select the teams or the characters that they want because there's that timer. So instead, what we could do to mitigate that is have a preset team option where you could be like, all right, this is my favorite team to run. I'm gonna just select this option, which has all the characters that I want. Boom, I could just select that and it'd be no problem. So shout out to that, because that was definitely my idea as well. Drew, very fun with an annoying ranked scene because of how much cheese there is. People trying to take it seriously is silly, and it's why so many are turning on it. Treat it like the party game it is and you'll have a great time. Customization leaves to be desired, but fun overall. Also, custom battle is my favorite mode of any Dragon Ball game ever. It's such a good time. I definitely agree with this take as well. People do need to stop taking it super seriously, or stop trying to force it to be something that it isn't. If you definitely treat it like a party game, you'll have more fun, but you can still feel the little bugs and tweaks that it needs. Custom battles are definitely a great feature, but again, like I said earlier, it definitely needs some tweaking. However, the concept itself is very fun and I love the idea of it. Cody says, after playing it for a while, the flaws are coming out. Bugs, overpowered characters, customizing characters are very limited, which is sad. It's a great Dragon Ball game, but I'm starting to prefer Xenoverse 2 for the best Dragon Ball game. Also limited maps. Then Brian says, I've been saying this for a while. They should have waited until 2025 to release this game. For as much as I would have hated to wait that long, in the long term, it would have been worth it. They should have also made a beta test to test the game out and see what bugs we could find. I definitely kind of agree with the beta part, but I think that's why they try to do the early access, which is kind of crazy to think about because the early access was only like a 3-day advantage. But how do you guys feel about it having a beta? Because I think that would have been interesting. All right, Ketchup No Sauce says, game feels exactly what I predicted. Story mode underwhelming for half the characters. Custom battle is alright, just lacks a proper organization of its text. But also lame cutscenes they give us. Lack of customization. Bugs and glitches are unbearable. 7 out of 10. It seems like people are starting to agree with IGN. I never knew we would live in a time where people are starting to agree with IGN. That sucks. All right, next up, AWAB. Okay. Lack of simple QLL features. Navigating the menu takes ages. Whenever you press circle, you have to re-enter the settings every single time for matchmaking. Same thing with training. After finishing a match, you have to re-input your training settings every time. Character info screen is not nearly helpful enough. Not being able to disable things like Bulma being Very annoying whenever you buy anything. Also, the stupid bugs like not being able to switch and no rage quit penalties whatsoever. I don't understand what this particular one means. Whenever you press circle, you have to re-enter the settings. Can somebody help me out on that? I actually don't know what he means by that. As far as the training option that he mentioned, I definitely agree with this point. There should definitely be like kind of like a saved training mode where you don't have to keep constantly doing it over and over again. It's just a little tiny feature, but again, it's a quality of life feature that I definitely would agree would definitely make a little bit of an improvement. But overall, not a bad input. Gaming Gift says, I think it's the perfect Dragon Ball game that needs a few tweaks to calm down some unbalanced strategies that make the fights more unfair than they need to be. It's got a few missed opportunities at launch, but nothing a live service game with more updates coming can't fix. I definitely agree with that. So far, it's an amazing game, perfect Dragon Ball game in my opinion, but I do agree that while it can be competitive, I don't think it should be. Budokai Tenkaichi 3 was a great game. We, or at least I, played as kids with friends and just laughed our asses off when we kept spamming the same OP moves. We didn't care about the optimal play, and while yes, it is way more fun deep diving and learning the mechanics of the game to play as best as you can, I still don't think it's the type of game where it should be in big important tournaments like EVO. Definitely, again, we constantly keep talking about the EVO situation, and I definitely agree. Get it out of your vocab. Don't get it out of your heads, okay? Those two terms should not be in the same sentence. But again, this kind of goes back to stop taking the game super seriously is kind of what Shok is saying here. All right, so he says, I already knew people would turn on the game in a few weeks. It was blatantly obvious that people would eventually see how mediocre it was once the hype died down. All right, bruh. What did he see? Come on, bro. All right, Young Reaper says, I love it, man. The gameplay actually feels like Tenkaichi, but better. It feels like we're really having a fight in the anime. The story mode isn't that crazy cutscene wise and exploration wise, but the extra choices are really fun to get. I definitely agree with the extra choice option. However, I still think they could have done the story mode a little better as well. Chad says, genuinely great continuation of the older games. Best 3D arena fighter we've had in a long time. If you play for fun, it's a great time. Combat system still fun. Lots of way to feel like you're really in the anime. Nice. Hero says, I feel like they released 1/4 of a game, and I think people are very used to games being released like that. I feel like whole big AAA game gaming industry is selling us less than half the game than the rest of the game in DLCs. I feel like that's a take that a lot of people are saying. I personally don't know enough about that type of concept yet. So again, if anybody agrees or disagrees, feel free to comment on that. Needed more months in the oven, but it's fun. That's what Expo says. I could kind of agree with that, but it is what it is for now. J-Band, solid 8 out of 10. The fun definitely wore off quicker for me than usual, but it's still a great time. Huge Dragon Ball fan, but it makes no sense to have ranked mode when there's no balance. To each their own with this. Silva says, it's the Tenkaichi 4 people wanted for years for better or worse, and this game is not meant to be played any kind of competitively by design. Again, the mutual feeling of people need to stop taking this game super competitively. Game's fun, but online will be like every Dragon Ball game in maybe like 2 weeks. Completely unbearable. All right. Schoolboy says, the disappointing aspects to me are just things that would be the perfect cherry on top. More costumes, stages, accessories, etc. are the only things I wish there were more of, which is proof of how good we eating with Sparking Zero. What we got is still an easy 9 out of 10 for you. Okay, nice, Schoolboy. Chris says, story mode definitely could have been better. Customization feels like it can improve with DLC. Mainly want more outfits. I can't speak for everyone, but at least for me and my cousins, we love to play this game casually with each other since the Budokai 2 and 3 days. Always a good time. So again, the mutual thing is the story mode could have been better. All right, June says 8 out of 5 out of 10. It's good, but it has a lot of problems. In fact, right now I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. But once they fix a lot of bugs, I think the score will shoot up. That's fair. There's balancing issues for sure. Even as a casual game, some stuff shouldn't be there. Story is carried by the what ifs. Ooh, that's an interesting one. That's definitely an interesting one. But again, the mutual thing that everyone is saying is just the balancing issues. So I'm curious, me personally, I know that there should be some balance tweaking, but not all the way. However, what do you guys mean by balancing issues? Kind of elaborate on that, right? Because again, like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is supposed to be and feel strong as hell. So again, what do you guys mean and what would you guys like? And let me know in the comments below. All right, Ayala says peak. Nice. I have a few gripes. The amount of defense options in this game is too much. The single rank matches are all broken characters. People playing characters with mad cheese unblockables ruins the experience, but everyone just says it's so broken. I love this game. Like, huh? This one just feels like no offense, but this one kind of just feels like a general complaint. This isn't like a how could we improve the game in itself? Again, when you go into ranked matches and you're playing a single match, yeah, you're going to experience those UI players, those Gogeta players, all right? Like, you can't stop it. Yeah, like, you may not like it, but the reality is, bro, like, people are going to play what they like. People are going to play what they want. It's up to you as a player to kind of get accustomed to that idea. Thinking that they shouldn't play whoever they want is kind of an asinine mindset. I'm not saying that's how he feels, but I know that a majority of players start to complain when they start to see, oh God, Super Vegeta, oh God, Gogeta. I know I do too, but not in that sense where like, oh, they need to stop doing this. No, of course, nobody wants to play against those characters, but I'm saying, like, if you're actually taking it seriously and you're upset that they need to like remove it or something, or find some way to like ban characters, I'm not sure how to feel about that, especially in single ranked matches, because trust me, I've seen people talking about banning characters. I don't know how they would want to implement that type of notion in ranked. Again, this game is not meant to be balanced, especially for ranked. You're not gonna see banned characters. It won't work that way. Redemption says, game is fun, it's just sweats that I want every game they touch to be esports level. I do want a new non-ranked mode where all characters have equalized stats. Oh, that's kind of interesting. So okay, the first half, again, we could all agree that everybody and their moms, at least a good chunk of people, want this game to be esports level. We do got to talk about that. A lot of people, with every fighting game they play, they think, yeah, you know what, this could be at Evo. Well, let's talk about how we can implement it. Like, bro, slow your roll, okay? It's meant to be fun. It's not one of those, all right, you're gonna go pro, you're gonna win millions of dollars at Evo. Like, that's not how it works, especially for this type of game. Okay. Now, he brought up an interesting idea, the non-ranked mode where all characters have equalized stats. Now, for example, Dragon Ball Legends does have a match mode where essentially it's called LBR, where all the characters are at max stats. Now, it definitely isn't at equal stats. It's not like, for example, I think he's trying to say that Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta should have the same stats as Yajirobe, right? I don't agree with that, but I get what he's trying to say. Maybe that would be fun for many people to just, it should just be about the skills at the end of the day rather than the stats, right? I definitely could see where he's coming from with that, and that would be kind of interesting. I will not lie. Let's just see, like, all right, if you're so good at Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and you're not carried by this character, let's see how you fare against my Frieza soldier or my Kui or my Zarbon, right? Like, that would be kind of fun. I won't lie, that would be kind of fun. Sir Sony, to be honest, I had some problems with the combat. Sometimes my combo just stops for no reason, even though I'm pressing square, and mostly the meta is now annoying both DP and singles. Vanishing Wars, I think it's something to be fixed, and I don't know how I feel about super counters yet. So again, yeah, combo stopping for no reason is definitely a mood dampening thing to happen. The meta is definitely always going to be annoying no matter what. So I think people should not try to find a way to switch up the meta, because it's never going to happen, bro. People are going to play whatever they want, and that's fine. All right, Faith says, Sparking Zero is a 5 out of 10 experience. It's a great game by what it wanted to be, but I cannot overlook its horrible mechanics, lack of variety, and very unappealing custom battle mode, bugged control scheme, lack of customization, and more. It needs updates and quickly. All right, that's his opinion on that, and I definitely agree with the, you know, things needing kind of an overhaul. With the bugs and all that stuff, especially since it's all right 2 weeks now, but we are getting some updates, which is a first sign of improvement, although it hopefully does fix the match experience. However, there still needs to be a lot more that needs to be urgently taken care of. All right, The Greatest Shot is a fun game and feast for Dragon Ball fans, since it offers us a chance to play as our most beloved overpowered characters, and that's a con for some people. This game is unbalanced and unfair in multiplayer. My main complaint is about the story mode, since it doesn't do much. Okay, that's fair, and I'm glad that you acknowledge that, you know, the game is unbalanced and unfair, and that's how it kind of needs to be. However, again, like I said, like, characters will feel overpowered, right? But of course, I know overpowered doesn't always mean bad, right? Like, there should be some type of balance to it, which is so ironic and contradicting to say. But overpowered characters like full power Jiren, mastered ultra instant Goku, right, they're meant to feel overpowered. But I guess the people want, all right, you can make them overpowered, but at least tweak them a little so it doesn't feel so bland, so it doesn't feel too hard. I can understand that concept to a degree. Not a fan of the Vanish Wars, to be honest. They need to make it speed up. All right, so again, Ryan says that, and again, I think we could all agree to that extent as well. Robert, Easily the worst rank scene in any recent Dragon Ball game. The unequal balancing was screwed up so badly, so it's just everyone abusing the same character combos that provide the most value for their DP. And in single battles, it's just fusions and 9 plus DPS. It's so unfun. I can't really comment on that because again, it just goes back to people are gonna play whatever they want, right? Like you can't, there's no way to stop that. You know what I mean? But hey, I could agree with the some unbalanced characters need some form of tweaking to an extent. I know it's never gonna happen because that's just, again, they want to remain faithful to these type of things. But would I be opposed to it? No, I don't think I would. But don't be surprised if it doesn't happen because again, it is what it is. Like, would I be opposed? No. But am I indifferent to it? I am kind of indifferent to it. I'm gonna kind of stay neutral on that. All right, so Raj says, I'm genuinely invested in its combat. It's easy to just spam once you get the hold of all the defensive mechanics. Extremely fun to play, especially online since the CPU becomes predictable. Only criticism is that TN should one-shot everybody. You know what, man? I agree, especially because look at this, man. Awaken the third eye and all that. Look at him. Look at him. Jay says, great game, needs some tweaks and updates. All right. Amazing game, just needs QOL and bug fixes. Unlike Tekken 8, which is an inherently bad game. All right. I don't know how Tekken got involved, but sure. Kong. 7.5 for me. The what if should have had more varied conditions to get them instead of just defeating X enemy quickly, and they should have focused more on making long what ifs with a coherent storyline like the Saiyan Saga ones instead of the one win cutscene ones. This one was interesting. I definitely kind of agreed to an extent with some of these. Defeating the enemy quickly was definitely a hassle, but I think they didn't want to overdo it with the winning conditions. I think they just kind of wanted you to kind of lock in and get the what if anyway. So they made it easier in that kind of sense. I guess people could argue, well, it wasn't really easy trying to defeat the enemy quickly. But hey, all you had to kind of do was just spam your sparking and then just go off and go crazy. But again, I know that may seem like, all right, well, that doesn't seem fun. But again, if you want to get the what if, that was the way. I'm not going to be sorry for that, for playing that way. But I do kind of agree that they went really hard with the Saiyan Saga ones. I kind of wish they kept that same energy for the other ones. But again, the best what if is the Gohan one. If you know, you know. All right, free to play, by the way, says the bugs haven't happened to me too much, but when they happen, your chance of winning is essentially zero. Gameplay is good when you actually get to fight people, but there's so many defensive options. The other player just starts a vanish war for 70% of the match. Again, it comes down to the defensive stuff, the vanishing wars and whatnot. But yeah, I definitely agree with the bugs essentially like dampening your chances of winning, and that really does suck for a lot. All right, Dutta says they're playing ranked. Outside of that, I think the game is fun and does what it needed to do. Okay. Trinks, I'm only going to mention negatives, so assume everything else is great. Customization is lacking. Tons of empty slots on characters for no reason. Insanely lack of map variety. We need at least 30. Custom battle making is a nightmare. Endlessly scrolling dialogue. Again, these are all things that keep being brought up, and that's good. You know, again, I'm glad that people are constantly bringing it up. Even if it sounds redundant, that's how you know that a majority of players feel the exact same way. So again, you're not alone to feel this way. All right, D. Wayne, I don't like the key system. It's so vital to everything, but takes forever to build if you don't charge. Slowing the flow makes for a boring watch, and the story mode slideshow also annoyed me to no end. Other than that, it's been a blast. I definitely agree with the, you know, the story mode, slide mode stuff. The key thing, I could kind of agree. Like, it feels like it takes forever to build, because I know for a fact it's quick and easy to fill up your gauge, but when it comes to your key, you drain key hella fast in this game, and it feels like the second you vanish even one time, you have no room to even use a special, which is kind of wild to me. All right, Zagarian says can't flare with Broly. Yeah, you're kind of right. Joshua, in terms of fighting competitively, it's still too early. We gotta let a few updates pass, but everything else has been beautiful for me. I feel the love and passion that's been put into making this game. Didn't think I could be brought back to my PS2 days, and I've been having a blast. That's amazing. I'm glad that you still feel that nostalgia. You know, I have my nostalgia as well. Definitely feel the love and beauty, and I definitely do feel the passion. Don't get me wrong. I love this game, and I have gripes. I hate this game sometimes, but not in a negative way, not in a bad way. Yes, I have my gripes and my complaints because I want this game to flourish. I want this game to be beautiful and persist. But yes, I can say that I could definitely feel the passion behind it. But damn, does it need some work. All right, UBI says, I'm loving it. Still only game that's been holding my attention lately. If I had any complaints, I would say the button input thing definitely needs to be fixed. Almost lost a match because of it. Again, same thing, right? Input delays are definitely a hassle. Dan says it's good, but episode battles are carried by what ifs. I got it on Xbox. No crossplay. Dire need of patches and fixes. Where the hell is my blank black outfit? Yes, I agree. I could say more, but that's what's on top of my mind. Okay, so real quick, the crossplay thing, that's still been an issue even before the game release. How are we feeling about that? Dire need of patches, all that, I could agree. And yes, I definitely agree on this last point. Where is the outfit? Where is it? We need that. We need that now. All right, Dave Anime says, not gonna lie, this could have been baked more, 3 to 6 more months in the oven, and it would have been better, to be honest, but I'm not mad at all for what we got. Then again, I haven't been playing online that much. So yeah, it's coming down again to one of those, do not take this game seriously. If you don't take it seriously, you will have fun. But again, some people don't take it seriously and still don't really have much fun because of what lacks. How are we guys feeling about the game needing more time in the oven to cook? I don't know how I personally feel about that. I would have to kind of take a step back and reevaluate to see if that's how I also feel. But it feels like a lot of people are saying, yeah, this game should have at least come out at least in 2025. I don't know how I feel about that, but how are you feeling about that? Ploke says, at this point, I don't even think violence will teach people these games aren't built for Evo and high sweat. That's a funny way of putting it, but yes. Des says, peak, nice. Yo says, a solid 8 for me. Bugs are holding it back a bit too much. I definitely agree. Chubby with a B and a Y, okay? Love the actual moment-to-moment gameplay, but the story mode is actual butt cheeks. No intro dialogue, but they put some dumb dialogue for you to see when you select characters. And little details like the audio design being less impactful than a 20-year-old game. It's a cool game, but damn, if they actually went into the Sparking 02 Sparking 1, they could actually tighten up everything, add some obscure characters, and actually give us some cool cutscenes instead of those dumb slideshows, and it would be a 10 out of 10. Tenkaichi was bad too. I'm glad you kind of brought up this reference. Now, as far as like the little details, like the audio design being less impactful, I don't know what you mean by that, so hopefully you or somebody else could elaborate on that again, but thank you for your input. But I do want to bring this up because I'm glad you mentioned Tenkaichi 1, which is something I was going to bring up later. This game is definitely going to be a prime example of how the other games in the future will be. Those that don't remember, Tenkaichi 1 wasn't the best. However, and clearly, they saw that potential and made Tenkaichi 2. And then we got Tenkaichi 3, which is arguably the best Tenkaichi game in the series. So maybe we are kind of going to get that type of treatment here. I don't know. Who knows? But I have been seeing people say this is going to feel like Tenkaichi 1, where it's going to have a lot of potential. It's kind of going to show you what this game could be. And then maybe we get Sparking 02, which will definitely highlight, okay, this is what Sparking 0 could have been. But now we got Sparking 02 or Sparking 2. I don't know. But again, that's a long way of thinking. All right, thinking about the next game already is kind of crazy to even wrap my head around, and that's gonna take many long years. And I hope in those coming years, this game is at its prime. All right, finally, we got some quote retweets. All right, Sparking 0 is a disappointing release. As a big fan of Dragon Ball, they should have spent 2 to 3 more years polishing the game. It's buggy, unbalanced mess that got released conveniently when One Piece went on break. What? Overall, I give it a solid 5.5 out of 10. Okay, I have no idea why the hell One Piece was brought up for that. That's kind of tinfoil thinking in my opinion, bro. I'm not gonna lie. You might be Luffy with the way you were stretching and reaching with that one, my boy. I will not lie. To say that it got released conveniently when One Piece went on break is wild to me, bro. That might be the funniest comment I've ever seen in this one. That was crazy. But I do definitely, I appreciate your other inputs as well. But hey, bro, that's crazy. That is crazy. Bro got the Zoro profile picture. You might be lost too, my boy. All right, God's Punching Bag. Fun game, but unless they balance it, you'll never see it at tourneys or anything super major. Far too many characters that carry. Top ranks are all MUI and Gogeta. Okay. Same example, same thing. So gameplay is fun. I feel very nostalgic when fighting against CPUs or people. Menu interface is pretty mid. Just having to watch some animation for every scene you filter through gets repetitive and a hassle. The time limit to pick your team in DP is awful. Only having 45 seconds to pick a team. Oh my god, this brother wrote a lot. Okay, only having 45 seconds to pick a team is stressful, makes it annoying. I'm gonna kind of speed run this, and I'm like, all right, bro. I really kind of sounds redundant with this. Story mode is fun. Slideshow thing, okay. I like the Sparking episodes. Some of it are kind of missed. Spoilers for Goku episodes. Okay, yes. But besides that, I love the gameplay. I love how it made me feel like a kid again. I love playing with friends. I can't wait to see how much more they expand on this game, and I hope they add more characters from the movie Z, Super, and GT. Definitely agree. Definitely agree with a lot of this though, my boy. Thank you for your input. Gonna quote this with a hot take. Dorito says, this game did not get a proper in-depth look by content creators and con visitors that played early. The hype let a lot of wacky stuff get through. Is Budokai Tenkaichi 4, so stuff is OP like we were warned, but we needed a demo bad for some sort of rank balance. Ooh. I still love this game, but after 80 hours of mostly online play, it could have used some more love before launch. All right, and then he actually commented as well instead of a quote retweet and said, my biggest gripe has been a lock-on mechanic. Yes, it feels like the RNG most of the time. Sometimes I lock on immediately after looking at them. Other times it takes what feels like years. Sometimes I'm not even looking at them and it'll lock on. Even if you hit a straight punch, it won't lock. Yeah, so definitely the lock-on system definitely needs work, and it is very inconsistent. So overall, that wraps up everybody's comments on my tweet. Thank you again for commenting. That means a lot to me that a lot of you came together and just, you know, shared your grievances, shared some of your inputs, shared your valid criticism. Most of them were definitely valid. Some of it came across as just complaining, and again, you're valid to do that, but as valid as that is, you also want to come with some feedback and valid criticism as well, not just come across as I'm just complaining because I'm not very good at the game or whatever that case may be. When it comes to criticism and feedback, you want to be as opinionated and also as objective as possible, because listen, it may not feel like it, but they do listen. All right, so when you say things like, well, I'm just not having fun in ranked, well, okay, expand on that. Why? Right? So you want to be heard, you want to be listened to, then yes, overall just elaborate on those feelings, man. Like, I know some people are just, you know, they're gonna say I'm not having fun. Okay, explain that, right? Elaborate, give some input, give some feedback, some actual valid criticism. So you want this game to improve, talk about it, but why, right? Focus on the why and the hows and what you would like to see, right? That's how things work whenever it comes to criticism. As for me personally, guys, I kind of already agree with a majority of these things. Lock-on system definitely needs some work. I remember in the old Tenkaichi days, all you had to do was press the right analog stick to lock on, and it automatically locked on, or at least helped you lock on a little better. Definitely needs some rework with that. Training mode, for example, could have been done a little bit better and explained a bit better. It felt very slow and janky at times. Even trying to reset the options or trying to redo the training session in particular, it felt like I want to back out, but I can't back out because now I'm stuck on this screen, right? So things like that definitely need some more polishing. The input delays, the glitches definitely need some work because it dampens the mood, dampens the experience, makes me not want to play, especially even playing against my homies, right? Like, I don't want to play a game where my buttons don't work or I can't switch out of my character, right? Like, I want to play the game and have fun, but how am I supposed to have fun if 10% of what I want to do I can't do because the game is glitched? Story mode slideshows, I could agree, it definitely didn't feel the best. It felt a little boring at times. I found myself kind of skipping through story mode a lot, because again, I know it's something that we all witness. All right, Krillin being blown up, the same story, same scenario, I get that, but again, like, it didn't feel nostalgic in that sense to me at times. I think my favorite one when it came to story mode, not the what ifs, but the actual story mode, was the Cell Saga one with Gohan, right? That one felt very nice. That one actually touched home a bit. Seeing Goku in that animation, sacrificing himself, I love that. I love their take on it, their style on that, but I wish we had more of that. Some of it felt very inconsistent. You don't even know which particular cutscene you'll get or when. I can definitely vouch that some of the story was carried by what ifs, but that isn't a major issue as well because the what ifs were great. At least a good chunk of them were. Gohan, again, by far the best what if in the game. I love that a lot. You guys did a phenomenal job with the what ifs with Gohan. I would definitely love to see more what ifs. We definitely need Cell in there somewhere. I definitely agree with the customization aspect of the game. It feels a little bland at times. I think even in V-Jump, they said that we would get this V-shaped type of aura. I don't know what that means, but we haven't even seen that yet. I know that Yajirobe is getting a nerf, which is crazy to me, right? But again, I hope that is the first step in the right direction where we'll be able to see more things like that, not just with characters, but overall optimization for the game's health. I do hope that Bandai does listen to this, or at least acknowledge the community's feedback and criticism, because some of us actually really love this game, but a good majority of us love the franchise overall, and we would love to see it flourish and succeed. And let's get one thing straight, this game is hella successful. 3 million copies sold in that amount of time is insane. I don't think people realize how insane that is for an anime game. But it's definitely fair for people to say, hey, I want to see a little more, because that's just how much we love this game and we care about it. But again, I'm going to give this game the benefit of the doubt. It is only 2 weeks old, but I know some of you are going to be like, hey, well, 2 weeks is a long time, and that's enough for it to acknowledge its bugs and errors. And that, I definitely agree with you on that. Maybe some form of acknowledgement to certain things will definitely help the community a lot more. Definitely will make them feel seen and heard, but I'm definitely going to remain hopeful. And again, I do want to re-emphasize, people need to stop thinking about Evo and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Those two things should not mix together. That's like oil and water. Do not do it. People are definitely shooting themselves in the foot with that type of idea. I definitely ranked this game at like a 9.5 when it first came out, but I'm definitely going to drop it and give it at least like a 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10. And that's still great. Does that mean my opinion of the game will definitely change? Absolutely. You're allowed to change your mind about things, man. Listen, like, I thought this game was going to be great, and it still is, but I know now that it could definitely improve. Even in the beginning, I was saying, yo, this game is perfect. But then I realized, okay, it's far from perfect. I do want to say, though, you are allowed to change your mind. You were born to learn, evolve, and try things and fill things out. I know that in today's society, and especially in the gaming community, it makes you feel like changing your opinion on things is admitting defeat, or it means that you were wrong. And it's okay to be wrong, but changing your opinion is definitely okay. But change is growth. Hills and opinions were not meant to be died on. Maybe you were on those hills and you were put there so you can stand on top and see a different point of view. Because even at one point I said this game is perfect. It doesn't need no fixing. But then I realized, wait a minute, hold on. It definitely needs some tweaking. Listen, man, all in all, the message I'm trying to say is we're all trying our best. Give people and yourself some love and grace, and especially with some opinions that people may have. We all want the same thing at the end of the day when it comes to this game. We all bought it for a reason. We all want to have fun end of the day, and many people are still having fun. So don't look at others and be like, oh, why are you having fun? How could you be having fun when this game is so flawed? Sometimes people just want to turn their brain off and play with the homies. They don't care about the bugs and stuff. They just care about playing. And that's okay too. And then there are people that, you know, yes, they have valid criticism and they want this game to succeed. And you cannot condemn those people for wanting the game to flourish and then saying that they're just complaining and to just accept the game for what it is. But again, shout out to all of you on Twitter that wrote something. Big shout out to you if you left a comment below as you're watching this. Shout out to you guys again for remonetizing my channel. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the next one. Y'all take it easy now.